We've been taking kids on airplanes for the last 10 years, and in that time, we've developed lots of tips and tricks for keeping those kids occupied on the plane. So in this episode, we are sharing all of those with you and more. So if you've been hesitant to take your family on a flight, I hope this is helpful. Hi, I'm Rhea.
And I'm Dwayne.
And we are your hosts of the Travel Party of Five podcast, where we share how we travel as a family of five around the world.
We will also share how we use points and miles to travel as affordably as possible and sometimes even completely free.
So if you're wanting to travel more with your family, but you're not sure how, we'd love for you to listen in.
So welcome to our podcast where we hope you learn a thing or two to get you closer to your next trip.
Hello, and welcome back to Travel Party of Five podcast.
Thanks for tuning in. We are on episode 15 or 16.
I have no idea. Honestly, I've lost count. When I save them on the computer, I don't even know what number to put anymore. So we have a couple of updates to share, and then we're going to get into our main topic, which is
Traveling with kiddos.
Yep, all of our best tips, predominantly around flights with kids, but maybe a few extras in there as well, because over the years we have learned a lot, and part of the reason we've learned a lot is because we've had a couple of pretty bad flight experiences. So first update is, in a previous episode or two, we had mentioned that over the summer we were going to be going back to New York City for a quick weekend getaway without the kids, and we were going to be staying at the Andaz on 5th and also the Park Hyatt. And we have since changed that plan. So basically we decided that while we love New York City, it is not a very relaxing trip. It is very go, go, go.
Yep. Hustle and bustle.
And what we were looking for was really some time to relax and decompress without the kids.
R&R.
And so we did a complete pivot, and we are now going to be going to the Grand Caymans.
Nice.
And staying at the Kimpton Seafire Resort, which is a very nice hotel.
It looks very, very nice.
Now,
Google it.
Yeah. This is not a Hyatt property, so we're veering away from Hyatt for this trip. But last year, I had opened an IHG card when they had an elevated bonus. And IHG is a hotel brand similar to Hyatt or Hilton or Marriott. So IHG owns things like Kimptons, Holiday Inns, that sort of thing. And originally my thought process for this card was to use it at some Holiday Inns when we did a national park road trip. But I don't think that's happening this year. It's definitely not happening this year. And I don't know that it's going to happen next year. So instead of letting those points sit and lose value over time, we decided let's just use them. And so we booked the Kimpton Seafire for 4 nights, and should be a good time.
All on points?
Yep, all on points.
How many points per night?
So it was 70,000 points per night, but...
Wow, it's a lot.
Yeah, it's just like I said, it's like we talked about in a previous episode. It's just a totally different ecosystem from like a Hyatt. But when you have certain credit cards through IHG, when you book 3 nights on points, you get the 4th one free. So it ended up being around 52,500 points a night. And I had 180 something. And so I did end up buying some points. And the cost of that was around like $130, I think. And so, I mean, yeah, not bad for
No, not
for
bad,
4
because
nights.
if we were to pay cash for those 4 nights, it would be like, what,
It was-
5,300?
Yeah, it was over $5,000
Yeah.
because I looked up the exact room on the exact dates,
Yep.
and that was the price. So
We're winning.
I feel pretty great about
Yep.
that. We can talk about this more probably after we go. But the The one caveat is you do have to pay their daily resort fee
It's like
there,
$80 a
which
day.
is $80 a day. And whether you book on points or not, you have to pay that. And so we will have to pay that. But all in all, we're going to spend under $500 for what is basically a $5,000 value. So I'll take that any day of the week.
Yes, ma'am.
And we booked flights on points. We paid cash for one way and points the other way. We're using our Southwest Companion Pass, and we are going to be staying overnight in Orlando on the way there one night. So we'll go through all those details like after we take the trip and have lots more to share. But I just wanted to give that quick update because I'm actually way more excited about that than I was about New York. I love New York, but it's just not like
Relaxing.
it's not a relaxing, sexy place, I think, to take a trip. So should be a good time. Hopefully there's no hurricanes because it is in hurricane season.
Yep.
The other update is I thought it might be fun to just kind of share what credit cards we've opened recently and what minimum spends we're working on hitting. Because I feel like it can sometimes just be like, oh yeah, I had these points and I used that to book this. But I feel like there's a lot of blank space where it's like where people are sharing what cards they're getting and like what they're working on. So we are working on 2 sign-up bonuses right now. So the first one is a card under my name. It is the American Express Business Gold card. And this was our first jump into the American Express atmosphere. I was able to find an offer that was 150,000 membership rewards points, which is pretty high. Like I think normally for this card, it's around 90,000.
Nice.
So, and the strategy behind opening this card is in a few months, we're going to have to buy flights to Japan for next year. And similar to how Chase has transfer partners and is like a flexible points currency, American Express is the same. So
Nice.
they're flexible points that can be transferred to multiple airlines. And so that is the thought process behind getting that card. And then you have the Chase Inc. Business Preferred card. So we are also working on that minimum spend, and those points will be going towards Hyatt hotels in Japan.
Nice.
Yep. And then we mentioned before we're aiming for globalist status through Hyatt. So in addition to those 2 cards, we're also trying to spend money on our Chase World of Hyatt business card. And so because for every $10,000 you spend, you get 5 qualifying nights towards status. And to get globalist status, you need 60 qualifying nights. So we're combining all of our stays this year, which is why most of them will be at Hyatt, with probably around $30,000 spend on the card, I think is what we'll have to do. So we're $10,000 there. We've spent $10,000. So it's just
20 more to go.
it's just a balancing game, trying to hit the other minimum spends while still not spending more than we would normally spend.
Yep.
So lots of fun things. And like if you are new to this hobby and just starting out, I would not recommend juggling 3 cards like that. I would recommend just doing one, hitting the minimum spend, and then moving on. But for us, we've been doing
family of 5. Yes, I mean
we've been doing this a little bit longer, and
yeah.
I feel comfortable with my ability to manage that for now. So so I hope that's helpful. And so I think we can probably just get into our main topic today, which is tips for flying with kids. And so I think let me first preface this by saying that the flight that we took to Washington, D.C. in November, which was the last time that we flew with all the kids, was the easiest flight that I have ever experienced flying with kids. And part of it, I think, was we have finally turned a corner on their ages. So at that time, our youngest was 3, but close to 4. And then our boys were 6 and 9. And so if you have kids younger than that, we sympathize and we have been there. But it seems to me like maybe 4 And 7 and 10 is like the magic age where it starts to get a little bit easier. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I would agree. Yeah, like you said, it was the easiest flight. I just think because we're, prepared now and know what to do.
I mean, yeah, I'm sure that I know that helps too. Yeah. But it was like the first time I was able to read a book on a flight with kids. And that was just miraculous to me.
So, I mean, we got into this because our first flight with our 2-year-old, our oldest child, we flew to Hawaii from Phoenix. And
it wasn't his first flight, but it was our first flight with him together.
Yeah, well, yes, sorry.
Because I flew with him to New York.
And it was his longest flight.
It was his longest flight.
Long story short, by the time we got off the plane, all the flight attendants knew his name. We had people offering us snacks.
People from the other side of the plane were giving us like activities
Because
and coloring books for him.
It was a hell of a flight.
He was awful. Yeah. It was terrible.
Yeah.
Yeah. We were, I will say, we were incredibly unprepared.
Unprepared is, yes.
Like, we were young parents. He was our only kid, and this was only his second flight. And he wasn't quite 2. He was like 18 months. And yeah, we were just incredibly unprepared. And I mean, it was a little bit embarrassing, honestly.
I mean, we thought we were prepared. Is
well, yeah.
The shitty part.
We did. We thought we were. Yeah. And it was a little bit embarrassing. People were, but people were very helpful.
They were.
And the flight attendants even let him run up and down the aisles, which was helpful. But
yes. Yep.
Ugh.
And like I said, everyone knew his name by the end of the flight.
Yep. When we got off, they were like, bye. Bye, so-and-so.
So on the way back from Hawaii to Phoenix, we gave him some, what was it? Benadryl? Yeah.
And before you come for us, my mom has a very good friend who's a pediatric nurse. And so I did consult with her beforehand and got the correct dosage from her.
Yes. And she warned us this will either make him tired and sleepy or make him crazy and
wired.
Hyper. And we were like, oh, God.
And he had never taken it before.
Yeah.
So we didn't know what to expect.
So we took the risk and it worked.
Well, but do you remember that he was fully crying, screaming for like 45 minutes? And we looked at each other like, oh my God,
here we go again.
Was this a mistake? And then he just went from fully crying to being asleep within seconds. And I remember asking Dwayne to he was sleeping on me. The baby was sleeping on me. And I remember asking Dwayne to check if he was still breathing because that's how quickly he just went silent. And then he did. He slept for quite a few hours on that flight, and it was a better experience on the way back.
Yeah.
But since then, we've now done that with 2 more kids, and they're all, I would say, great travelers. They know what to expect. They know how to behave. And so here is some of the things that we do for them that will make their trip better and our lives easier.
Yeah.
Number 1, if they are walking but under the age of 2. So if you don't know, if your kid is under the age of 2, they can be a lap child or a lap infant, and you do not have to pay for a seat for them on the airplane. And I think that if they are not walking, then yes, it is great for them to be a lap infant, save some money, bring a baby carrier, and let them sleep on you or whatever. But if they are walking and under 2, which, what's that? Maybe from age 1 to 2, I feel like most kids are walking at 1. I would highly, highly recommend buying them their own seat and bringing their car seat on the plane.
Yep. Hook it right up to the chair.
It doesn't hook in like well. It's not tight, and it will be forward facing, not rear facing. The car seat has to have an FAA approved sticker on it, which most of them do, but you can check yours. And you can literally put it right in the seat. It has to be in the window seat. And you can only have 1 car seat per row, I believe. But if you will use a car seat at your destination, then
definitely the way to go.
This is what I would do. Yeah. It is a pain in the butt to lug it on and off the plane. But
It is, but you can buy one of those rollers.
Yep,
to
we have a
where-
car seat roller.
Yeah, so you just attach it to the roller and you just wheel it through. You
Like
can
a
even have the
stroller.
you can even have the kids sit in the seat.
Yeah, just like a
Wow,
little
yeah.
stroller. So it is a little bit of a pain, but I promise you, if you have a flight that's longer than like 2 or 3 hours, it is such a lifesaver because they're in a comfortable environment. They know their car seat and they are strapped in. That's the key. They are strapped in. They are not trying to run up and down the aisles of the airplane because at that age, they don't understand why they can't get down. You know, they don't understand why they can't run around. And so I remember I forget who it was, but I was telling someone that we brought the car seat on the plane and they were like, I have never seen anyone do that before. And I was like, what? I was like, first of all, we do it all the time. Second of all, I see people do it all the time. So
Yeah, I
guess.
mean, definitely the way to go.
yeah, you can gate check your car seat, but what's the point of that? Because one, it's likely to get damaged. And two, you've already done all the work of getting it to the gate. You might as well reap the benefits of having the car seat on the plane. So that is hands down my biggest tip is if you can get them their own seat and bring a car seat and strap them in, that is what you should do.
Yep.
I think number 2, bring way more snacks than you ever think they could eat. Like I'm talking 10 plus snacks per kid.
That way they have options, because kids like one snack one day and then don't like it the next.
Yep. And so each of our kids gets a Ziploc bag. I fill it with snacks for them. And they eat way more on an airplane than they ever do off an airplane. And I don't police it. I don't care.
Yep, keep them quiet, keeps them busy.
You want a snack, even though you just had one 20 minutes ago? Go right ahead. Fine. We also bring one of their reusable water bottles, one per kid. Bring it empty through security, and then fill it up. Most airports now have water fountains with filtered water. So save yourself the $5 a bottle that bottled water costs, and bring a plastic one and fill it up once you're through security.
Yep.
You want to talk about the iPads? So
Yes.
our kids watch screens. If your kids don't, I guess this doesn't apply to you.
Good
but
for you,
ours
but
do.
Ours do. So yeah, I mean, before you get on a trip, I mean, whether you're flying or taking a long road trip, you download shows on Netflix,
Or Disney Plus.
or Disney Plus. You just download them to the iPad. That way, you don't need Wi-Fi for them to watch it.
You have to download them when you're at home on your own Wi-Fi.
Yeah. I thought that was a given. Anyway, but yes, download multiple shows, as many as you can. That way, like I said, it's with snacks. They like Bluey one day, then they don't the next. So have options for them. This will keep them occupied for hours. Yeah, I mean, it's definitely the way to go.
And headphones.
Oh, yes. Definitely buy some headphones.
Kid headphones so that they fit your kid's head.
Yeah.
Also, a lot of kids' headphones have like a volume maximum, which is generally a good thing. But on an airplane, it's pretty loud. Like once you're up in the air, there's a lot of white noise. And so just make sure that the volume maximum is still loud enough that they're going to be able to hear what's playing. Because we've had some headphones where I can't hear anything. And so that's probably something to keep in mind. And also you want to make sure you have chargers for all devices with you in your carry-on.
Yep. And also you can download games that they like to play that doesn't need Wi-Fi. That also keeps them occupied. Yeah, I mean, it's definitely a must when you travel. Keeps the kids busy.
We generally have a rule that our kids each have an iPad that they use, but we don't generally let them use it unless we are traveling. So that's the other thing, is they get a little more excited about it because for the most part, they don't get it otherwise.
Yeah.
Lately, that's not been the case because they're into this Roblox game, but we try.
And, we don't let them start watching the shows until we're either on the highway or up in the air.
Yeah, on the highway, like if it's a road trip,
Yeah,
you mean.
if it's a road trip.
Yeah. Yep, that we have to be in the air, predominantly to preserve the battery life of the device. The other, so I don't know, I've lost track of numbers. Maybe this is 3 or 4, but toys, if this is especially for little kids, so maybe like 4 and under, and especially 3 and under, where maybe a show isn't going to hold their attention for very long, and you're going to need to be a little bit more hands-on with them with activities. So one, activities that they haven't seen before, or games or toys that they haven't seen before. So go to the dollar store and just pick out some fun things that will be new to them, and don't let them see it until you're on the plane and they're starting to act up. So some examples of toys that we like and come back to over and over again are, you have to think about toys they can play with, but that are not going to drop on the floor or are unlikely to drop on the floor. So if a toy has
messy.
a lot of little pieces, that's probably a no. But things like poppets, stickers, for babies on Amazon, they have little activity boards that have like buttons and snaps and zippers, that sort of thing. Those are perfect. Play-Doh is good.
All kids love Play-Doh.
Water Wow, which is like, the kind of the pictures that have like the marker that you fill with water, and you draw on the paper and it colors. Wiki sticks are really good. So those are some of the things that I would recommend.
Yeah, and for older kids, you can, markers, color pencils, coloring books.
Once they're capable of like picking their own stuff up off the ground, I feel like, yes, for sure.
So yeah, any of those ideas would be helpful.
Yes. And I also think like you want to kind of think in like 15-minute increments maybe for the flight, especially if you have little kids. You could even maybe do 10-minute increments, but like, your kid and how long something will probably occupy their attention. And so a snack, then a toy, then maybe a drink, and then another snack, and then another toy. And I mean, with younger kids, the younger they are, the more hands-on you have to be. But once they hit around 3 or 4, I feel like they're able to watch a few shows and you can get a little bit of time to yourself too. Also for babies, you want to have something they can suck on, whether that is a bottle, a sippy cup,
pacifier,
anything to help their ears pop. And then also just let them run around the airport, especially if they're little, before you get on the plane.
Yep. Get some energy out.
You can also board last if you have assigned seats. On Southwest, this wouldn't work. But if you have an assigned seat for yourself and your family, then you can board last, which is going to be less time on the plane, less time for them to have to sit still and behave. What else? Stroller. If you're wanting to bring a stroller to your destination, you can absolutely do that. And it's a great way to get your kid through the airport too. Strap them into the stroller. You can take the stroller all the way to the gate, and then you will just gate check the stroller.
They just put a little ticket on it.
You'll go
leave it at the...
Yep, at the end of the jet bridge.
Yep,
so you'll go to the check-in desk, like at your flight where you're about to board. You'll get a gate tag. They'll tag the stroller for you, and then you'll wheel your kid all the way down the end of the jet bridge, and you will fold up the stroller and leave it right there. And then when you get off the plane, it will be right there waiting for you. Yep. Sometimes you have to wait a few minutes, but
they're usually pretty
quick. Yeah. And then I think I've got 2 more things. So we have each of our kids at this point carry their own backpack and wheel their own suitcase. Now, we predominantly check our bags because on Southwest it is free. And so that's just generally how we do it. So they don't have to wheel their own suitcase very long. But even when we get to our destination, they push their own suitcase for the most part. The only exception is our daughter. If she is in the stroller, then one of our boys will usually get hers too. And in their bag, so they each have their own backpack. We just use their regular school bag. And in it, I put an extra pair of clothes, a pair of pajamas, a sweatshirt in case they get cold because planes are cold, their individual snack bag that they get to choose from whenever and whatever they want, They each get to bring one stuffy on any trip we go on.
Stuffed animal.
Yeah. And then their iPad and headphones goes in the bag too. And then if they are into any books lately, our oldest is really into this one book series. So he would bring 1 or 2 books as well in his bag. But they are responsible for carrying their own stuff. Obviously, when our daughter, when our daughter was a baby, she didn't, but she still had a bag. We just carried it for her. So the pair of pajamas and clothes, that is in case you get delayed or stuck somewhere overnight. It can happen. And especially with kids, you need to be prepared for that. If you have a kid in diapers, you'll want to pack extra diapers and wipes and formula too, just in case that happens. Yep. And then go ahead.
The last thing is lounge access. You know, we have an episode on that, but if you are able to access any of the lounges at the airport, it's definitely a must. Can go get free food, free drinks. The kids can, get out their energy in these lounges. It's less busy than the actual airport. So yeah, I mean, if you're able to access any kind of lounge, it's definitely a must.
Yep. And a lot of them have parents' rooms or mothers' rooms too. So if you have a really young baby or you're breastfeeding, like it's such a nice spot to get a little quiet.
Some even have showers where you can shower.
Yep.
I mean, that's your...
Yeah. So I agree. Lounge access has really made traveling with kids way easier. And it's such a big money saver because you're not buying food for your whole family. You can just go in and you know what? If the kids don't like something, they can go get something else. They can try something different. And it doesn't cost you any more money. So, yep, I agree. Think we missed anything?
No, I think that's about it.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, we appreciate you listening. Hopefully this episode was helpful on your journey, wherever it is you may go.
Make sure you hit the follow or subscribe button. If you wouldn't mind leaving us a review, if this has been helpful, that just helps more people find our podcast. I do hope these tips were helpful. And if you have any questions, as always, you can find us on Instagram at Travel Party of 5. We would love to hear any feedback you have. And I think our next episode will be on our trip to Costa Rica, which we are gearing up to leave for in just a few days. So I'm excited for that.
Yeah, that should be a good one.
Yeah. All right. We will catch you on the next one.
All right. Have a good one.
Bye.